Sometimes the biggest battles are the ones people fight in silence. And when the truth finally comes out, it can break even the strongest hearts. It was a quiet afternoon at the police station when the door burst open. A little girl, no older than 7, stumbled in, her cheeks streaked with tears. She could barely catch her breath as she cried out, "Please, please follow me home." The officers exchanged puzzled looks, but one of them, Officer Miller, bent down to meet her eyes. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" he asked gently, but she only tugged on his hand, insisting, "Please, you have to come now." Something in her desperate eyes told him this was no prank. Without a second thought, Officer Miller grabbed his jacket and followed her out the door. The girl held tightly to his hand as they rushed through the busy streets. Her small legs moved quickly, almost tripping as she pulled him along. People stopped and stared, wondering why a police officer was being dragged by a crying child. Miller didn't ask questions. He could feel the urgency in her grip, the fear in her trembling body. Finally, after several blocks, they turned into a narrow, run-down neighborhood. The girl pointed ahead with a shaky finger. "There," she whispered. Her voice cracked, but her steps quickened. The officer's heart raced as they approached the small, broken-down house at the end of the street. When they reached the house, the girl pushed the door open without knocking. Inside was dim, cold, and silent. The air smelled of neglect. "Mommy?" she called softly, her voice trembling. Officer Miller's eyes adjusted to the darkness. In the corner of the room, he saw a young woman lying on the floor, pale and weak, empty medicine bottles scattered around her. The officer quickly rushed to check her pulse. She was alive, but barely. The little girl clung to her mother's hand, sobbing, "I couldn't wake her up. Please help her." Miller immediately called for an ambulance, his voice steady but urgent. Within minutes, paramedics arrived, lifting the unconscious woman onto a stretcher. The little girl cried, refusing to let go of her mother's hand until Officer Miller gently promised, "She'll be safe now. You were so brave." The paramedics worked quickly, giving her oxygen and fluids. As the sirens wailed and the ambulance sped away, Miller stayed behind with the girl, his heart heavy but proud. If not for her courage, things could have ended very differently. Later that evening, at the hospital, the doctor told Officer Miller that the mother would survive. Exhaustion and untreated illness had nearly taken her life, but thanks to her daughter, she had a second chance. The little girl sat by her mother's bedside, holding her hand tightly, her tears finally slowing into relief. Officer Miller stood at the doorway, his eyes misty. He realized that day that true courage doesn't always come from uniforms or badges. Sometimes, it comes from the smallest hearts, like a little girl who refused to give up. And everyone who heard her story was left in tears.